And as a result of this, I have been spending perhaps a little bit more time in Nottingham city centre, going from shop to shop to shop. And if there is one thing I've noticed, it is that the shops are different. They've changed since, 6 months ago or a year ago. There's some figures out today that show there has been a net loss of shops in Nottingham city centre of 35 during the first 6 months of the year, and it's not the only street facing problems, or the only high street in the UK facing problems, but it is one of the worst performing areas of the East Midlands. Now, this analysis has been done by the business group PwC. Tom Roberts is an independent retail expert and director of the agency Blackstock, and he's here now. Good evening, Tom. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Congrats on the baby.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Keep your fingers crossed he doesn't come on Christmas Day, will you? I don't want my Christmas Day lunch to be arranged. But, I mean, this, whilst it is startling, it's not surprising, is it, these figures, bearing in mind what we've been hearing from the high street over the last, year, 18 months or so?
No, it's not surprising. I think really what the high street has been hit with here is a sort of lethal cocktail. So we've got an unfair business rate system, we've got an outdated leasing system, so that's referring to the amount, how long and how much space shops take, and also more broadly changing consumer habits. But the one thing I would like to strike out on is the more positive scenario that we're facing than, say, 10 years ago when we saw the likes of Woolworths go under. Back in 2008, we were about to enter our deepest recession in British modern history, I believe. Whereas now, yes, economic growth has taken a hit since the Brexit vote, but wages are finally beginning to outpace inflation. But what we're beginning to see here is not only just the four factors I kind of mentioned a moment ago, but also, to some degree, businesses just failing to kind of change and adapt with the times. So it's not all doom and gloom there. I think there is still opportunity for well-run, smart retail businesses to do well on the high street.
Why is the decline of the high street a bad thing? Why couldn't it just be a sign of the times? Things are moving on. People don't want to use the high street, so they won't. So the decline of the high street is just a thing.
No, I agree with you. It's not necessarily a bad thing. The bad thing it will be, though, is if we try and keep this outdated idea of the high street that we've had for the last 50 years. So we insist on it being, full of storefronts that we just simply can't fill because, as you said, the times have moved on. People are using the internet now. They're ordering stuff through their iPad rather than going down and speaking to a person to do it. So what we really need to think is, hang on, actually, if shops aren't going to fill our high street, what is?
And what do you think that answer is?
Well, if you're looking to, I don't know if you read the small print on the budget, probably not, but one of the things that was snuck out by Chancellor
Tom, there are very few people who would say, I don't know if you read the small print of the budget. But I'm glad to know you have read the small print of the budget.
Well,
go on, what did the Chancellor say?
One of the things that was snuck out by Chancellor Philip Hammond was easier rules about converting shops into homes. So clearly the government sees an opportunity here to tackle two things. One, the decline of the high street, and two, our housing crisis. And he's not the only one. So we've got big retail landlords, companies such as, you probably won't have necessarily heard of them, but Into and Hammerson. But they own a lot of the shopping centres and retail parks you will visit. Not the same as the high street, granted, but a lot of those shopping centres and retail parks, they're looking to integrate residential and retail, so homes and shops sitting side by side.
So Debenhams could be turned into a block of fancy flats or something of that description.
Or affordable. You never know.
Or affordable. Yeah, let's hope it's the latter. Tom Roberts, thank you very much. Independent retail expert and director of the agency Blackstock.